we're going to learn about chain surveying, which is one of the techniques of plane surveying. And this is the outline of our lesson. The first section would be the introduction to the chain surveying. Then we're going to learn about the instruments needed in conducting chain surveying, followed by the procedure of chain surveying. And finally, we will learn about the errors that could occur in conducting chain surveying. So before we start learning about chain surveying, we need to first understand the aim of surveying. So basically, surveying is conducted to obtain positioning. So we need survey to find a position of certain point on Earth. How? By linear and angular measurement. So there are many techniques that can be used in surveying, and each of them differed by their field procedure, the instrumentation, and the unit of measurement. So what is plane surveying? So it is actually a survey where the surface of the Earth is considered as plane and curvature is not taken into account. So this type of survey is usually suitable when the area of survey is small. Here, since curvature is ignored, the line connecting points to be surveyed is called straight lines rather than arc. And plane surveying can be conducted with different techniques including chain surveying, compass surveying, plane table surveying, and theodolite traversing. So in this lesson, we will learn about the first technique, which is chain surveying. So what is chain surveying? So it is actually the simplest surveying technique. It is also the oldest one. Why is it the oldest technique? So you will know it when we look at the instrumentation that is used to conduct the survey. In this technique, only measurement taken in field. Other than that, the calculation, plotting, and all are conducted in office. And in this survey, only linear measurement will be taken, which means only length or distance between 2 points to be surveyed are taken. No angular measurement is taken in chain survey. Thus, it is suitable to be adapted for a small area with very few details. And if carefully done, it can give rather accurate result. So, when actually is chain surveying suitable to be conducted? Basically, when the survey area is small and the ground is very level. Why? Because as I mentioned before, chain surveying will only involve linear measurement using tape or chain which has limited length. Thus, we could not conduct it on large area where tape or chain could never be used to measure the length of our survey lines. And the survey area must also be open so that it is possible to directly measure the distance. We can also conduct chain surveying when simple and few details are needed in the work. Chain surveying involves a direct measurement where the length of line will be measured directly, and it just use a simple equipment. There is no need to solve hard equation at all because we only use chain or tape to measure the distance. And in chain surveying, there are quite a number of instruments that need to be used to conduct it. So first, chain, of course, tapes, arrows, ranging rods and offset rods, pegs, and plumb bob. So we're gonna take a look at each of these instruments. What are they and how are they will be used to conduct chain survey. So first of all, instrument to measure the distance, which is chain and tape. But we're gonna take a look at chain first. So what actually is chain? So this is how chain look like. It is composed of 100 to 150 pieces of links it is made of galvanized mild steel wire, and these are the links, and these links, as you can see here, are joined together with oval rings and handles at both ends, and the end of each link are bent into a loop and connected together by means of three oval rings. As you can see here, this is the links, and they are joined together by these oval rings, and if you can count it, it has like three oval rings over here. So, and the end of the chain is provided by brass handles. This is the brass handles for easy handling. So if you don't have this brass handle, it is quite hard to hold these metal things. And the length of chain is measured from one handle to the other handle. So as I said before, one chain will have 100 to 150 links. So this is one link, two link, three link, and so on. And in the end, there are 100 to 150 of links. Apart from chain, we can also measure distance by using a tape. It is used when a more accurate measurement are needed. So this is the tape here. This is the tape. So when we need a more accurate measurement, we will use tape, because as compared to a chain previously, they don't have like scale over here. It just one link, two link, and so on. But if you use tape, we have like 1 cm up to 1 millimeter. We have it. So when more accurate measurement are needed, we will use tape. So the tapes are classified based on the materials which are they made of, such as cloth or linen tape, fiber tape, metallic tape, steel tape, or invar tape. And the next instrument would be arrows or chain pins. So this is the arrows. Here is the arrows, and they are also called as marking or chaining pins, and it is actually used to mark the end of chain during the process of chaining. So the one pointed over here, the pointed part of the arrow over here is it will be inserted into the ground, and the other one is attached with the ring. Next instrument would be ranging pole. So this is the ranging pole. It is also called ranging rods or offset rods. So the ranging rods or offset rods are round poles made up of wood or metal, and they are actually used to range intermediate points of a survey and to set out straight lines on the field when the surveying length is long. And the only differences between a ranging rod and pole is the length. So ranging rods and offset rods are commonly occurs in 3 meter length, but ranging pole are available up to 8 meters long. These rods, as you can see here, it poses like a pointed metal over here at its bottom, and the rod or pole is painted with red and white, or sometimes it will be black and white. So when the survey lines are too lengthy, let's say the survey line is too long, there will be a red, white, or yellow color flag attached at the top of the pole for easy identification. So the next instrument is the pegs. So it is actually this one. You know this one, right? So they are made up with wood, and they are used to mark the survey position. And the size of it can be 40 to 60 centimeter, depends on the type of survey work and the type of soil. And although the pegs are driven into the ground, actually 1/5 of its part should be visible on the ground surface. The last instrument would be plumb bob. So this is the plumb bob. It is a string suspended with a weight at the bottom, and it consists of specially designed weight and coarse string or special threads. So mainly the plumb bob will be used for centering the instrument above our survey station. So now that we have seen the instrument needed in chain survey, so before we move to look at the procedure of conducting one, we need to first understand the types of stations and lines involved in this survey work. First, we will look at the type of survey stations in chain survey. So there are two types of station involved in chain survey. First is the main survey station, which it is actually a boundaries of survey. The lines joining them will be called main survey lines or chain line. And the second station would be subsidiary tie station, which is actually a point selected on main survey lines used to locate details wherever necessary. So when we have like necessary details to be picked up, we will select our subsidiary tie stations on the main survey lines, and we will measure the distance to that particular detail, such as buildings, fences, roads, etc. So in any survey work, it is very important to select a good survey station. So what are the factors of selecting one? First, it should be visible. So basically, stations should be visible from at least 2 or more stations. This is to ensure that the measurement of line is possible. Next, as far as possible, main lines should run on level ground. This is important as we don't want any sagginess of our tape or chain in measurement. Plus, in this survey, no angular measurement are taken. So the linear measurement should directly give the horizontal distance, not the slope distance. So if we get the slope distance, we need a vertical angle to calculate the horizontal distance, which is impossible in chain surveying because we don't take any angular measurement. So it is really important to have the ground to be level. So we need to select a station where the ground is level. Next would be avoiding the obstacle for chaining and ranging. And then reduce the trespassing and frequent crossing of the roads to ensure the safety of work. Lastly, we should ensure that there is a check line to make sure that the length taken is accurate. Okay, so what are the survey lines included in chain survey? First, we have baseline. So it is basically the main and the longest line which pass approximately through the field, the center of our field, and all other measurements to show the details of the work are taken with respect to this line. And the second line is called main survey line or chain line. So as mentioned before, this line connect the main survey stations. And there are also subsidiary tie line which join two fixed points on the main survey lines. So it actually helps to check the accuracy of surveying and to locate the interior details. And the position of each tie line should be close to some features such as path, buildings, roads, etc. And then we should have check line, also termed as a proof line. It is actually a line joining the apex of a triangle to some fixed points on any sides of a triangle. So it is actually used to measure or check the accuracy of the framework. So the length of checking line, the length of this checking line, as measured on the ground, should agree with its length on the plan. Then we can show that our measurement is accurate. So this is the survey lines. As you can see here, we have like 4 survey stations here, and each survey station is connected by this line, which is called main survey lines. And this longest line is called baseline, and as you can see, all other measurements such as for checking, for subsidiary tie line, is all is based on this baseline. And there are 2 subsidiary tie points here, this one and this one, T1 and T2. And as you can see, both subsidiary tie points are selected along the main survey lines. So you can see, for example, T2, and it should be located as nearer as possible to the our details, such as this T2 is located very near to the building where the details will be taken. And as you can see, this is the check line. So this check line, just take any line on our survey, and we just measure the distance from our selected starting point of the check line to any point, any our survey points, and we need to check whether the distance we get here is the same as the distance plotted on our plan. For example, if we measure the distance here like 20 meters, the distance on the plan should be 20 meter also. That is how we can ensure that the measurement taken in this survey work is accurate. Finally, we have offset line. So it is actually a measurement from baseline to fix the position of different objects of the work. So these are generally set at right angle offset. It can also be drawn with the help of a tape. And there are two types of offset, which is perpendicular offsets and oblique offset. So now that we understand the survey station and survey lines exist in the chain surveying, let us take a look at the procedure of conducting one. Basically, there are 8 steps of conducting chain surveying. As always, any kind of survey will start with reconnaissance survey. So here we will go to the site, take a look around it, locate where is it possible to put our survey stations, subsidiary stations to observe the details and all. And once we identify the suitable location to put our station and all, we mark the survey stations. And then we need to select way to pass the main line, followed by fixing ranging on roads. After that, we can start chaining, where we pull the tape or chain and measure the distance between the 2 points. And we need to make ranging wherever necessary. And after that, we need to measure range and offset. Finally, we need to record all our readings in our field book. So these 8 are all the procedure of conducting chain survey. And normally in any survey work, there will be an error. When we do our work, we might find that the length of line is inaccurate and all. So why does this happen? Because of errors. So for chain surveying, there are several sources of errors. The first one is the length of the tape or chain is other than standard. For example, the tape manufacturers do not guarantee that 100 feet steel tapes to be exactly at 100 feet. It might be more than it. It might be like 100.01 feet and all. So an error due to the incorrect length occurs every time the tape is used. Secondly would be the temperature. So for example, steel tape, they are standardized at 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius. So if the temperature is higher or lower, it will change the length of the tape. So the temperature of the tape can be quite different from the air temperature measured. Next would be the tension of the tape, which might be the most possible thing we will do on site. So we might have pulled the tape or chain too hard, so we will make the tape or chain become tension or tense. So if the tension is greater than the standard, the tape will stretch. Obviously it will stretch. So when it is stretched, so the measured distance is actually more than the actual distance on ground. So if less than standard tension is applied, the tape might be shorter than the standard. So it is important to have correct tension when we pull the tape. Apart from making the tape tension, we might also make it sag. Basically, a tape not supported along its entire length will sag. So by applying correct tension, the sag can be reduced. So next would be poor alignment. This occurs when one end of the tape is offline or there is an obstruction in line. So it's very important to select the station that has no obstruction. So the actual distance will be less than the measured distance if you have like poor alignment. The other error is faulty marking. So this error is random as the result of incorrect placement of chaining pins. So we might put the chaining pins at slightly different position of from our station, and then checking the measurement will so what can we do to reduce the error? We can carefully place the chaining pins, and we need to check the measurement again and again. So finally, as usual, error come from human mistakes in making observation. So basically, there is incorrect reading or interpolation. So the error occurs when reading or noting the measurement clearly or in a hurry. So what we can do, we need to carefully read it and use a small scale to determine the last figure, and we need to also carefully note the figures down. Make sure that the numbers is clearly written so that we are not confused with any other number. So as a conclusion, chain surveying is the oldest survey technique where only length are taken here. It uses direct measurement. The instrument used here is chain or tape. It is suitable for small and level area. So this is it. That's it from me. I hope you can understand our lesson. Till our next lesson. Bye.